Yep.
Just looking for a notice. Oh, notice. We'll be right with you. We just have a little technical difficulty. Can I ask you all to please stand for the pledge? Starting off tonight, we have the opportunity and the pleasure of recognizing our youth honoree, Brian Pirro. Councilwoman Danielle Zana would like to read a little introductories first. And then, Ryan, I think you have something you might want to say. Okay.
Good evening. The town supervisor and town board would like to recognize Ryan Pirro, a sophomore at Byram Hills High School, as a recipient of the town's Celebrating Our Youth program. Ryan Pirro has been a dedicated volunteer at the JCCA residential campus in Pleasantville since he was 8 years old. He volunteers there every month, building friendships with the boys who live in the organization's cottage homes and offering peer guidance and support. In recent years, Ryan has taken on a leadership role by running a summer sports camp on campus. Through this camp, he introduces the children to new sports, teaches them how to play, and helps them step out of their comfort zones. Ryan finds that learning new sports helps the young people there process their feelings and develop healthy coping mechanisms. He takes great pride in his work and finds joy in seeing the children, many of whom lack permanent homes, traditional family structure, and have endured abuse and neglect, experience happiness. Ryan is also a member of Mu Alpha Theta, the Math Honor Society, on the Student Leadership Board at Byram Hills School, a member of the boys varsity team, soccer team, as well as on New York Soccer Club. Ryan loves being in the business club at his high school and doing financial stock portfolio research.
At this time, Ryan, you're welcome to come up and say a few words.
I want to take a moment to thank you. Every August, I get the privilege of volunteering and running a week-long summer sports program at the JCCA Cottage School. It's something I look forward to all year because it's more than just sports. It's about building optimism, creating gratitude, and encouraging real camaraderie. My goal with this program is to help the children at the JCCA form deeper, more positive connections, both with the people in their cottages and with the larger community. I truly believe that we create a space where they feel supported and seen. We also give them a chance to grow, become more self-aware, and face their challenges with strength and optimism. Sports have done that for me in my life, and I love being able to bring that same energy and opportunity to the children at the JCCA each summer. Thank you again.
Thank you. Ryan, I'd like to present you with a little certificate from the town. Small token of our appreciation. Thank you very much. You're welcome to take some pictures if you like with the certificate.
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah.
Should we go down?
Yeah.
And us? Oh, wait, we're gonna get one more. We're gonna get Congratulations. It's a really nice work. Well, President.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Very good.
You might have to send it to me, not another professional.
Very
You want to go a little over the right a little. Let's get you centered.
We gotta
Let's get Ryan right in the middle.
I thought you said you were bad at this.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
That's a great way to start off a meeting. Congratulations again, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight is our town board meeting. It's April 22nd, 2025. First thing on our agenda is a public hearing, and I'll ask our town clerk to read that notice.
Notice of public hearing by the Town Board of the Town of Mount Pleasant to consider a local law amending the Town Code Section 218-109, dealing with amendments to the Town Zoning Code. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held before the Town Board of the Town of Mount Pleasant at Town Hall, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Valhalla, New York, on the 22nd day of April 2025 at 7:00 p.m. for the purpose of considering a local law amending Town Code Section 218-109, dealing with the Town Zoning Code Amendment Procedure and the notices required thereunder. Please take further notice that at the public hearing upon said proposed local law, an opportunity to be heard in regards thereto will then and there be given to those favoring passage of such proposed local law and also those opposed thereto. Please take further notice that a copy of the proposed local law is on file with the Town Clerk's office for inspection.
Thank you. Public hearing is open. Anyone wish to speak on this topic is welcome to do so.
Jim Russell from Hawthorne. I think the bill that you introduced is a good one. I'm glad that it provides additional notice in the case of rezoning, something that doesn't happen too frequently. I think at one of the meetings, our supervisor says maybe the first time that he's seen this come about, so it might not be applied that frequently in the future. And since it came about in the circumstances in which people from Valhalla were not notified about an important development of a rezoning of property to a multi-level zoning to accommodate a large apartment building, I think the benefits of this legislation need to be edited to be retroactive to encompass the people who suffered. If you have two children and one scrapes their knee, you put the Band-Aid on that child's knee, not their sibling, because they're the person who's bleeding, that's suffering. So it's appropriate to try and encompass the people who have suffered as a result of not being able to be heard. I was shocked at the March 11th hearing when it became known that residents had not heard of the hearing or of the rezoning and requested, and I requested as well, that the meeting be kept open, but yet unanimously it was closed. So I think it really needs to be reopened, to be fair, and to apply this good law widely so that all can benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, the apartment building that you're talking about has not been approved. The zoning was approved. It's got to go through a process with the planning board. It could take a very long time. Notices will go out, people will have the opportunity to question and make their suggestions on that proposed property. So please don't say that it's approved apartment building. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is Amelia Scordo, and I'm a longtime resident of Valhalla. I've been here since 1964. This is, I think, only the third meeting I've ever been to, but it's something that is very important to me. And that is that commercializing that area on Kensico Road will be a devastating move for the community. Was this area commercialized? Was the zoning changed specifically because of the application that was put in? How did that come about?
Were you aware of the master plan in town?
I had heard about the master
It was approved
plan.
about 3 years ago. That whole area, the business section and going up North Kensico was rezoned to a business zone to help owners of properties be able to improve their properties. This is not a new thing in that area. The only change that was made was a little piece that was not included in that should have been included.
Okay, but I've been up and down that road many times. In fact, I got married in that church that now will be torn down. I see a lot of lovely homes, beautifully maintained. I see a few homes that are being renovated, and I'm sure the owners are spending quite a bit of money to renovate. And I have a feeling that once this area becomes commercialized, whether it's that apartment complex, or it's a gas station, or a chicken coop, or whatever you're
allowed.
gonna put there, whatever you're gonna put there is going to devalue those homes, and I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about our community.
We're talking about North Kensico, right?
Yes.
Because I don't know of any renovations that are going on there. I'd like
No,
to
well,
check
they're
it.
completed. They're homes that have been resided. I see new windows. I see a lot of homes that have been improved. The way, someone who can afford it, a good homeowner will do that to maintain their property and maintain their property values. And when you see something like that, it's a community that cares about their neighborhood. And to spring something like this on them is devastating. I'm not in that community. I live on Grand Boulevard, but I can see it. I can feel for these people who live in that neighborhood. All right, number two, I'm all for reopening the discussion, as you suggested, of extending the business district so that more voices can be heard. It appears that this zoning request was processed with lightning speed, especially since it was not sufficiently publicized. People in the community have a right to know and be able to participate in the decision process. I'm all for it, but we need a redo, okay? I am for changing the zoning notification law, as you just stated, but it must retroactively include the Kensico apartment complex. The town board has been unfair and unreasonable for encouraging the application. Further, the town board has conducted closed hearings and not remained open to community comments. And that is not just me speaking. We have a whole bunch of people who feel the same way about that. Also, the new zoning law should be strengthened to include a requirement to notify residents within 500 feet of the proposed rezoning by certified mail, okay? I live on Grand Boulevard near Wall Street, and one of our neighbors recently added a second story to their branch house. They had a sign this big, this tall, for about 2 months on their front lawn, announcing what they were doing. You know the signs, you've seen them around, you probably authorized it. They probably had to pay a fee for putting that sign up. They had this huge sign for this, okay? Why wasn't similar steps taken to notify people about this monstrosity that may or may not go up on Kensico? So we need the law to include better notification, whether it's putting up that huge sign or whether it's sending certified letters to nearby residents.
That's what this is doing, but I have a question for you. I just want to go back a minute. Can you clarify what you mean that we had closed meetings? What do you mean by that?
Well, I understand from Jim. Could you clarify that? 'Cause
So
I
are these
wasn't at
your
that
words or are
meeting.
these Jim's words,
no back
what you
and
just
forth.
said? Because we don't have closed meetings.
No,
They're not
Jim,
allowed.
what was that incident? It was a
They're not
closed
closed.
session.
They're not closed.
Open
You're,
to the
you're allowed
public.
to be there, and you've come to our work sessions. You just can't speak at them. You can speak here. So they're not closed meetings, so what you're telling her is not correct. You're giving her false information. Work sessions are not closed. The door's open. Anybody's open to come.
They're not publicized, and the minutes don't seem to be available where they're supposed to be
We don't keep minutes at the work sessions. The minutes are from here.
under
Let's not debate the open meetings law right now.
What?
There's someone talking about a process, I think, from the public is probably not the best thing to answer questions about your opinion on the law.
Excuse me?
I'm talking to Mr. Russell.
Oh, okay. Well, I may have misunderstood or misinterpreted.
That's okay.
But the feeling is that the public has been left out. And yes, I agree that this new law is wonderful, but wasn't there something in place before this that required these notifications? I know there was, because the neighbor had the sign up. You put that big sign on Wall Street about the battery facility that's going to go up there. We have those signs about that water project that's on Columbus Avenue. Why wasn't a sign put up on Kensico?
We had,
Was that an oversight?
we had meetings about this project for over a year. It was presented here, it was presented to the town board in a work session, but it wasn't like it was a secret.
But why weren't the signs put up?
That, I don't know why we
Who
missed.
who does that? Who missed that?
There was no law on
It's-
the books at the time to put a sign up for zoning changes. There's laws for zoning board of appeals, so if you want to go for a variance, you'd have to put a sign up. There's planning board, site plan approval, meetings, public hearings. Those laws are in our code. There was
Well-
no law for zoning changes.
Okay.
which-
Now there
From-
is.
Yeah.
Now
Or
there
will
will be. Okay, so now that there is, then we should apply that law to the Kensico project zoning. And that's what we want. We want to reopen those hearings, go through the process, and have a true democratic response to this big change in our community. It's a huge change in our community. That's what I'm asking for, and some of our neighbors here.
Mr.
You-
Supervisor,
you don't live there, right?
No, I don't live there, but I've lived in Valhalla, most of my adult life. And I have my children live here, my grandchildren, and I want them to see, I want my grandchildren to grow up and have the same wonderful experience that I've had in Valhalla and Mount Pleasant.
And I have,
Now,
and most
my
of the
my
town
husband
board.
and I are both involved with the seniors. We use the recreation facilities. We love this town, but this is really, it hit me in the gut. It really did. Very, very upsetting for many of us.
Well, the planning board meeting will be coming up. You're welcome to voice your concerns at that meeting. It'll go on for quite a while.
Okay, but before you finalize this legislation or law or whatever you're calling it, can you put that in there, that it will retroactively apply to the Kensico project?
They will be putting signs up for the planning board
Yeah.
meeting. They will be putting signs up for the planning board meetings.
Why are you guys so against opening it up again?
If you want to speak, you can take your turn
Yeah,
and come
but
up.
I don't understand why why it can't be opened up again and talked about openly. You said, oh, it's been going on for years.
We've been talking openly.
But not to us, not to
We've been
us.
here, we've been listening.
Would you like to? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for all you do for the seniors and the recreation. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan DePalma. I was here a couple of weeks ago. I would like to thank you for answering my emails. I did not get a response from you, Tom. I emailed asking, so unfortunately, Mark, one of the things that you said is not correct. What you said is that prior to tonight, this law, there was nothing on the books that would have required them to post about the zoning change. That is incorrect. The section says that the board had the option.
Option, it's not required.
Option, it's not required,
Right.
but the,
So that is correct what I said.
okay, the way that I interpreted what you said was that there was no way to require them to. You could have required them to. The option was
No,
there.
we were not required to post a sign or put out notice.
Correct.
What I said.
What we're asking is that you had the option to require signs. Why was that option not utilized in this case? For transparency, frankly. And so far, out of everybody that I emailed, I did not get an actual answer to that question from a single board member. Everybody danced around it. And I can't tell if it was just an oversight, if you guys didn't know that that option existed. And if that's the case, mistakes happen, but let's fix them.
Well, that's what we're doing.
But let's fix it retroactively for the problem that was created. Because what
The
everybody...
problem is created, I don't understand.
Okay, so what the problem that's created is that this was rezoned, this property was rezoned. One of the things that you said was that North Kensico was rezoned. There are only 2 parcels from the map that I can see that were actually rezoned under the master plan.
No, the entire business zone and going up North Kensico was all
Two
rezoned.
parcels on North Kensico,
In the
Mr.
master
Fulgenzi.
plan.
Yes, I looked at the master plan. There are 2 parcels on North Kensico that were rezoned under the master plan.
I'm sorry,
Because
whole
the
area.
addresses...
I could give you a map showing you the
Oh, please,
areas.
please do, because
that were
60,
rezoned.
61 and 65 North Kensico were not rezoned, and those are immediately adjacent to this property. The only way to get to this property by car is to go through the residential zone. The area that this property is adjacent to the Hamlet zone is the dead end of Cleveland Street. It is blocked off by a guardrail. The only way by vehicle to get to this property is to go through a residential zone.
North Kensico is the entrance to the property.
And the 2 parcels south of this property are not part of this rezone. That's what I'm telling you.
They
The
are.
2,
The parcel.
I don't think you've looked at your own map, Mr. Fulgenzi.
Oh, I did.
61 and 65 were not rezoned. Those 2 properties are still residential zone.
We're talking about the properties along North Kensico.
Yes, immediately south of 75, 61, 65, 75.
They were all rezoned up, that was the old.
Can we ask the attorney, because I have the map, you're not correct. I don't know how else to say that, and I'm not
I
trying to be
have the map
rude.
too.
Great. Can we see it?
I don't have it with me right now.
Okay, I do. Let's see. Would you like me to show you?
Yes, please.
Great. The parcels labeled 61 and 65 are not part of the Hamlet
The
zone.
immediately adjacent going down the hill are not. But everyone going down the hill are. Just a little background here, Mr. Supervisor. This property was before, I think I wrote an email to someone, or we forwarded it to someone, was part of an application for rezoning. I believe it was in April or May of 2024. They were before your work session on a number of occasions. They came to this board in the public, and you referred it to the planning board.
Right.
Then it went to the planning board on, I believe, 3 different meetings. One meeting I watched on TV, the system didn't work. The other meeting, they had a proposal for the rezoning in November of 2024, all publicized. No one came to the meeting.
How are they
And then-
publicized?
Let me finish.
I'll ask you to clarify.
Let me finish what I'm saying, then I'll try, you can answer questions. We don't like to answer questions at public hearings. We want to hear comment, but I think we need to clarify that this was transparent. This was in many means, it was in the newspaper, I believe on 3 different occasions.
A
on the
newspaper
front
that doesn't
page.
deliver to this area.
They're always out here in town hall. I mean, we could debate the issue of a sign or not a sign. I think you
Yeah,
want
I
to try
stopped
to
getting it because they
pigeon
don't
someone in a
deliver.
hole that you didn't put a sign up, and, you know, it's the scarlet letter forever. They heard people at the public hearing on this also that said that they didn't want it rezoned. The board unanimous, 4-1, decided to rezone it, and they heard the public. If more people come out and say the same thing, I don't know if the board changes its mind. They could consider that, you're making your comments, and they'll listen to them. This is a public hearing on the notice issue. I guess we're kind of jumping it in with the persons to be heard, but this was a transparent process for about almost a year before this board, the planning board, and in the public domain. So it was transparent. No one was trying to hide anything. The applications were here. They were before the town board. They were before the planning board on numerous occasions.
I'm sure that they were, and yet.
So what's not, let me flip it.
Okay, so-
What's not transparent about that?
Okay, so when it came to the Toll Brothers project, there were signs posted. There were notifications made on the town's official Facebook page.
There were no signs when it was rezoned, though.
Right.
Okay,
It was on the site plan application, just like
Planning
this
board,
one.
yeah.
Right, that's when the signs went up for the
That's the
planning board
difference.
It was
meetings.
rezoned, I think, a couple of years prior, but there were no signs at that time either.
it was also posted on, it was posted on the town Facebook page, it was posted in Supervisor Fulgenzi, sorry, my mouth's dry, in his newsletter to the town. These are things that I do follow. The fact that there was absolutely no talk of this outside of these meetings is crazy. And I do agree with you, Ms. Naino, that it was in LoHUD, I'm sure. I canceled my subscription
It
because
wasn't
they
Lowell, it
frankly.
was in the local paper, the
It was in,
Examiner.
so in the email that I got from everybody was that it was posted in LoHUD and that is where it's supposed to be
Two
posted.
different issues. Notice of public hearing is one issue. Articles about the rezoning were in the Examiner.
Okay, yes, I'm referring to the.
different issues.
I'm referring to the one that was in LoHUD. I don't get that
That's the
paper.
notice.
Yes, the notice. I don't get that paper because it's not.
That's the legal notice of the public hearing that we had in whatever, March.
It's also on the website
Correct.
and in the e-blast.
Yes, on the website and in the e-blast, the address was incorrect, and I didn't realize it was the parcel that it was, frankly. It says 75 Kensico Avenue North, not North Kensico Avenue.
That's how.
How many Kensico Avenues do we have in Mount Pleasant?
The legal name is north at the end.
Actually, it's not. I called the tax assessor's office. So, this is the problem, is that there have been numerous errors here, and all that we're asking is that the town, we appreciate that you are recognizing that it's a problem that nobody knew about this. But had you had the 30 people that were here at the last meeting show up to the March 11th meeting, I'm not sure you would have made the same decision. Perhaps you would have, and perhaps it would have been more transparent that we're just being ignored. But that said, we should have been able to have our voices heard. We should have known about this, and if this law that you're doing now is retroactive, then that can happen, and that's the proper way to do this. If it was an oversight, it's an oversight. But the people who live in the area should have been made aware. Thank you.
Getting back to what this hearing is about, to consider a local law amending Town Code Section 218-109, dealing with the town zoning code amendment procedures and the notices required thereunder. Anyone wish to speak on the local law, amending the local law?
I'm sorry, may I have one more thing?
Sure.
Okay, this one's simple. I brought this up at the last meeting, but I'm just going to bring it up again because it happened again. Obviously not the town's fault, but the post office has not been actually delivering the certified letters, which I found out. I mean, I expressed it at the last meeting as well, but it happened. Yeah, unfortunately. What they do is they do the mass drop-off of one notice saying final notice, and for the last one, I think it was another DEC one, they dropped it off on the 9th, and the hearing was on the 10th. So, not that I had any opposition to it or any reason to come, but if I had, it really is not sufficient time. So the only recommendation that I would make or request is that at some point, this be amended to be maybe 15 days, because the post office clearly, they don't actually deliver the letter itself, they don't make any attempt to, they just deliver one notice that says final notice. I do have a complaint in with the post, yeah, it's not you guys, it's USPS. I have a complaint in with them, but it's been ongoing. On numerous occasions, we've actually received the notice, like the first attempt at notice, after the hearing has been had. So I know it's not your fault, but if we can extend the amount of time that people have to mail it, it would be appreciated.
Good evening. Anthony Pesh. I don't remember if you need my address or anything or no. A lot of my friends that were here last week would be, several weeks ago, would be here tonight, except we do have a Valhalla Vikings lacrosse game and a lot of them are attending that. So, anyway, I guess really my main question is, you obviously see that a number of people are not in favor of this. And so, why are you guys so against having it reopened? Especially with the fact that you're making some amendments to the laws that were there. Why are we so opposed to reopening it?
If I got a consensus from the town board that we should reopen it and possibly change our mind, that would be a different story, but that's not the case.
So regardless, you're all still in agreement that this is the right action for this property?
Yes.
And I don't have a copy of the map, but the other properties that are adjacent to this, are they or are they not actually part of the rezoning?
The rezoning that took place during the master plan has not changed. This was in addition to that.
Yeah, but the adjacent properties that are residential, were they also rezoned?
I'm not aware of that. Darius?
I don't have the map in front of me, I believe there's one or two properties directly south of 75 North Kensico or Kensico North that are not part of it, and it kind of goes around it. But I believe there's multifamily homes on those properties, if I recall. I forget
Yeah,
what's
the
there
back, yeah.
specifically.
Right, so south, meaning closer to
Two
the...
properties, but then when you go all the way down the hill, there's probably, I don't know, I'm guessing the number of properties. I think, it's in the master plan, 79 properties in Valhalla, I forget what it is, 90, directly adjacent to that, going down the hill, have been rezoned for 3 years, or 2 years, whatever it is.
Not rezoned for this purpose.
Rezoned to put in, yes, the exact same purpose, the Valhalla
Business
Hamlet District. Yes, everyone was. So the whole district is like this. There's one property, two properties, and then it curls around to this property, which has been a property that's been dilapidated for decades.
But
That's
you-
exactly what it is.
No one disagrees that the property should have attention and brought up to something of better standards. But a 34-unit building?
Well, that's a different
That
story.
hasn't been approved.
That's a different story. The question is, the application was
I
to
know, but-
rezone to Valhalla Hamlet. The board thought that was a good idea because it's directly next to, minus two properties that are multifamily homes, and they only asked for this property to be rezoned to the Valhalla Hamlet, which is directly there. The thought process was, this is a good, no one is doing anything on this property for decades. Someone has come in and said, I have a plan. That plan may not be the right plan because there's too many units there, it may be too big, who knows? That's what the planning board does. But this board thought this was a good idea, that this should be in the Valhalla Hamlet zone, given its proximity to the village of Valhalla, the Hamlet of Valhalla, the train station, the walkability down the street. I know someone said they can't walk down the street, but you see people do it all the time, and you gotta be careful. That was the thought process of this board. They liked it in the Valhalla Hamlet zone, they thought it should have been. Now it's in the zone. Now they need to go to the planning board. They propose a 34-unit multifamily property that will be scrutinized by the planning board at length. They could reduce the size, they can reduce the scope, they can reduce the number of units. You see it all the time. I mean, they come in on the Baker property, I think, they wanted hundreds and hundreds of single-family homes. It got reduced to 71 when that was approved at the Legion property. Now it's to over 55 units. So the planning board, they like the zoning, they like that type of multifamily use. The size will be debated at the planning board, if that makes sense.
And I think that's maybe the major concern of most people.
The size. Probably.
Realistically, and no one's against making this property better.
Well, that's what'll happen at the planning board. If you looked at the planning board meeting early on the zoning issue, because they recommended this zoning, the planning board said, we like this zoning too for that. We like the Hamlet zoning being part of that, and unanimously recommended to this board that occurred. The town planner recommended it, and they thought it was a good idea. The size and scope of it, that's what the planning board is for.
Yeah.
You know, where the stormwater, they'll need to look at the stormwater retention, make sure the property doesn't push water out on the street. It'll probably make it better. They'll look at the size, they'll look at traffic issues. Maybe they say the traffic issues, I think you were here on March 11th and said the traffic issues are a problem. They may agree with you.
Yeah.
They'll have to get a traffic
Well-
expert and submit plans and say,
Well,
this is why it's not a problem.
I mean, I have 34 units in a single lane driveway that's gonna,
It may be an issue.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
So-
what planning boards do every day.
right.
And that's what this planning board will do on this project. Sorry to interrupt, Mr.
No,
thanks.
it's helpful for the clarification, truthfully. You know, again, I don't think many people are against the property being restored to something better use. But, you know, when a lot of people weren't notified, which is, especially people that were right next door to it, that's a big concern.
So I'll answer the question from my perspective on why I felt it not necessary to reopen or go backwards, because, and I had voted against the zoning change, but at the same time, we did have a public hearing that night, and Mr. Russell, you had personally knocked doors, correct? The day of the meeting, more so, and a number of the residents who live adjacent were here and spoke, and that's why I figured, from my perspective, that would reopening it really change everyone's minds, change my mind, change your mind? I guess, you know, you won't know, but thanks to Mr. Russell, because yes, there was no notification, that a number of neighbors were made aware that would have been in the vicinity, correct, of a letter that would have gone out anyway.
There was notification. There was
Well, yeah, it was on the
Right, just not
website, it
letters.
was in the newspaper, right, just not the
There's
letters.
no
and not
sign or the
sign.
letters to within a
And that
couple
was,
hundred feet.
from my perspective, why, you know, if to reopen the public hearing, if it's not gonna be useful, is it just providing a waste of time or false hope for folks who may not agree with the project, you know?
Agree, I mean, obviously, the board's making their decision, and if they're pretty comfortable with that decision, there's no point for them to open it up again, right? Even though that's what is being asked of, but, so anyway, I mean, one other question. Would there have been a way to change the usage of the land, but not make it allowed to have, again, I know it has to go to the planning board, but they already got their foot in the door to build something larger than a couple multifamily properties, right? Like, so you could have made it, instead of it being a single-family zone area, I'm just asking a question. Other than opening it to it really being carved out and being part of this hamlet, could it have been rezoned to something else for better use?
We had a planning consultant that went over this, and we did rely on his expertise to tell us what would work in this area, and that's what we depended on. There is multifamily in that area. There are two-family, three-family, a number of buildings that are right next to this are multifamily.
Right,
So it's not like,
Not 32 families.
there are not all single-family homes there that don't work with this. We felt it would.
right.
Will it
Planning
be, will
board
it be
will decide.
34 units? You don't know.
Yeah, but,
Could it be 15? Could it be 10? Could it be 20? Could it be a different look? Could it be a different way of how it's configured? Yeah. That's what the planning process will do.
how, and again, sorry to take up time, but another question was, which someone brought up. So the Toll Brothers that are building or plan on building right on, how many, that's a big acreage, but, I mean, how big is that land that they're,
165, I think,
how many acres?
165.
165 acres. And out of that, how many units are they putting up or planning to put up?
62?
Yeah, that's what it is, 162.
I think 161 or
So
162.
an acre, one per acre.
No,
No,
they're
there's
clustered.
It's a cluster
I
development.
get it, but
With green space.
in reality, percentage-wise, it's one per acre.
The planning process
In all.
required that, I think it was 21 acres be dedicated to the town as open space, as town land
Right.
to be used in the future. And they're selling a portion of that, of the 160 acres to the DEP. I believe that's 40-something acres. And then they're staying up, there's a number of wetlands on that site that are not being touched, and there's a buffer they gotta stay away from. So the planning process made it all in an area, a clustered area to avoid environmental impacts. So the 161 units, I'm not sure how many acres it's on. It could be on 20, but I'm guessing.
Right.
They're individual unattached townhomes also.
Correct.
It's not a building
I-
with.
Right.
I get it, but where I was going with it is really, again,
I know what you're-
and I understand it's going to the planning board for their, to work on.
On this
But-
project.
On this project. But you have anything, I mean, this is not even a full acre of land. And we're allowing them to possibly build 34 units.
Just because
It's just
zoning
mi-
allows
It's just
something.
mind-blowing. That's the reality. That it's allowed, that the board thought that this proposal, because they had to propose 34 units, that's
They
in,
proposed a multifamily building.
Right.
This board did not approve the building, the size, and the amount of units. We had nothing to do with approving the building itself. We approved the rezoning of the property for some future use, whether it's 5 families, 10 families, building, we don't know yet.
all right, well,
Planning board will reevaluate this. You'll be able to go to the planning board and express your thoughts about it. That's what it's for.
okay, thanks.
And that'll, check the websites, there'll be notices, you may not be within the 500 feet of your home, but I would check the planning board, the website for the planning board agendas. We don't have a plan yet, though, from them.
Allowed to come back?
I'm expecting it in 2, 3, maybe
Does
4
anybody
months.
else need to speak first? Anybody else like to speak on this topic?
No?
This is in regard to the local law, right?
Yes.
You want to speak on that?
I'd like to just say I agree with everything people are saying today.
What's your name?
I think that,
Can you state your name, please?
oh, Donna, my name is Donna Babick. I've been living in Valhalla for 31 years. I live on Prospect, and this directly affects where I live. You know, I will be able to see, I can see the top of the steeple of the church when I walk down my street, so it's very close to home. I must say, in the 31 years that I've been living here, I really don't pay too much attention. I always felt our board was conservative, and I always felt our board had our best interest at heart, and I let things go and just live my life. And I love Valhalla. I love Mount Pleasant. I think the problem I have here is you keep going back to it's only in, you know, one parcel of land that you kind of, you know, change the zoning for. This one parcel makes it possible for this 34-unit apartment to be built. Had that not been done, we're looking at a whole nother scope of development on that property. That's where the issue lies. So what we're saying is, I know you keep saying town board, you know, not the town board, I'm sorry,
Planning.
planning board, thank you.
You're welcome.
The planning board, you know, yes, but the planning board wouldn't even have that opportunity had you not given them that acre of land by changing the zone. And I think that is where the problem lies, and that's where we want to open this up again and say, hey, maybe enough of us didn't pay attention, but we're paying attention now. We're not really happy about what's happening. I think we have a fair beef about what's going on. I think there was a fair, you know, assessment. It's just saying, you know, you have 165 acres, they're putting 71 units. We're talking a little piece of land that's between 2 big, huge hills, and you're talking about a possible 34-unit building. There's the problem. And I would hope that you can, you know, and you come back today and you say, hey, listen, we're going to do this law, we're going to change this law, we're going to make this law. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's partially because we're all here saying, hey, maybe this should have been done. And I think you said, yeah, I think maybe it should have been done. So why don't we just do it again? And rectify every, you know, we all sometimes just, you know, need to reevaluate our, you know, our thoughts, you know, reevaluate our plans, reevaluate. That's what we're asking for. Just give us a chance to come again. the whole community and say, this is our concerns, we would like you to reevaluate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to the public hearing to consider a local law amending the town code 218-109, is that what you wish to talk about?
I'll keep it very brief, yes.
Is that the topic
It is,
you're
yes.
going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about that topic. I'll make it one sentence. And that is, I am astounded to hear this board say that no matter what information they might hear at a continued public hearing of the original March 11th hearing on the law to rezone, no matter what information might come from the residents of this town, it would not change your mind.
We've been listening. If you've been here, you heard the comments, we heard the comments. If I truly believe that the comments that we have heard would change the thinking of this board, and everybody has a right to vote whichever way they want, if I thought that, if they said to me, Carl, no good, let's go back, we would do it. That's not the consensus I'm getting.
Let's hear from the other board members.
I have to agree with Supervisor Fulgenzi. I think this is a good use of it. New zoning code, there's various different types of buildings allowed in the Valhalla Hamlet that was passed 3 years ago. And the multifamily building is just one of them. It's all on the website. You can go on and take a look. It's under the building department.
I was on the planning board for 10 and a half years, and they are the authority, but you have to understand there was hundreds of people that were involved brainstorming for the master plan. We had numerous sessions, and there was tremendous transparency, there was tremendous communication, there was tremendous input. And one of the concepts was multi-unit housing, okay, in those particular zones. This lot line change is just accommodating that possibility, okay? It's an amendment to the master plan. So, and again, I was on the planning board. This is not a slam dunk. You have to go before, they have to go before the planning board. This may not even happen. If it gets reduced by the planning board to X amount of units, the developer might say, it's not financially worth it for us to do it. Okay, but you're talking about housing for teachers, housing for volunteer firefighters, volunteer ambulance corps, single moms, students, people that work in New York City that could walk into town, that bring in business, okay? And this is what you guys asked for during the planning process. There were 600 to 700 people involved, okay? And there's some people in the room that were here, okay? And that was the purpose of the zoning. This little lot line change incorporates the master plan, okay? I was disappointed that people weren't notified because I was on the planning board. But that's how the law was written, unfortunately. But people were here, and they did express themselves, and we did listen very carefully. And I would never want to not be transparent or not be honest with people. And again, it's a change that incorporates the master plan. It now goes to the planning board. They are the full authority, not the town board. They could decide either yay or nay. And again, the developer will have that right to say, you know what, it's not worth it. But it's to reopen it up, and believe me, I feel your pain. I'm very sympathetic to you saying that we want to reopen it up. But we made a decision, and the next step is to go to the planning board to see if they're successful, and they may not be successful. There's a very good probability.
Yeah, but the rezoning, this is not a commercial area, and you're making it.
It has nothing to do with a commercial area. Commercial area is business. This is a multiple dwelling.
It's multifamily.
Yeah.
There's
and that-
multifamily all around that area,
Multifamily versus apartment building style is totally different.
which hasn't been approved.
But Carl, I mean, come on.
It looks like the zone.
I'm not going to have this back. You want to come up and speak to me again, you're welcome to. There's people that are watching that probably love to hear you.
Sure. Again. A lot of it's repetition, and it's just trying to make sure that this is more commercial use, looking at what they're proposing to build. And I know it's proposed, and I know you're gonna push it off on the other
No, it's a
plan.
That's a legal process.
I get it, but it wouldn't even get there unless you guys made your map change.
Well, something would have
Right.
happened.
Huh?
Somebody would have wanted to make something happen there. So,
And there's a lot of things you can do with making it a multifamily in the zone that it is. You can make it, but again, it's going to be looking that it's a commercial area with the size. I wouldn't think a 30-something, even a 20-something unit apartment building would be considered residential.
it is.
No one that has single-family homes, do you want to live next to an apartment building that has 20-plus units? When right next
Not
door?
about me.
But that's what this is about,
We've been listening.
you know?
We've been listening. If you live next door, it'd be a different story, but you don't live next door.
We have people who live next door.
Isn't
And we listen.
contiguous, Carl, the other multifamily property that we were talking about, that someone looked at, I think, that had the,
We got the homes that are right above there,
isn't that
on
contiguous?
top of each other.
Is that it's a multifamily
They're
It's
single
townhome?
like
family
townhomes,
homes.
right? Right, which is all.
They're single-family
it's
owned, I
all
think they're townhomes, if I recall,
the zone.
No,
but it's
they're not
multifamily, whatever it is, but it's multifamily on one site, immediately contiguous.
There's not.
Those are not, those are single family.
What are those? Are
Those
those,
are both, every single home that is contiguous with this property is single family, and I really think that accuracy matters, I'm sorry.
accuracy matters, I agree, but with the project you were talking about, last time, the March 11th, where that was approved, and it's single, it's owned individually, but it's multiple multiple residential units on one property.
Lakeside.
Lakeside.
That's right there, right?
It's at the top of the street there, yeah.
Okay. No, I
Oh, if I was on the board at that point, I never would have approved that.
yeah.
And then
Well,
I
that
guess,
used
and
to
then I
be-
guess your future successor will probably say the same about you and this deal. Just letting you know that.
Depending on what's gonna be
Just-
built.
Yeah.
Could be a single family home there.
that.
All right. Anybody wish to speak on the public hearing considering local law amending town code, section 218-109? Any more speakers on that law? Being there are no speakers, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We're going to close it, but we're not voting on it tonight. We're going to give people the opportunity who could not come tonight to write in.
Yeah.
Is that, okay? Then I'll second to
Should
close
we-
it.
Resolution 19825 is to close it. Yeah,
It
Mark?
would probably be in 2 weeks at the next business meeting. So the woman asked, is there a deadline to write in?
No, before the next town board meeting.
Which is Tuesday.
May 13th.
It's regarding the local law. Okay. Mark made a motion.
I'll second.
Danielle? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the supervisor's report. Authorization to submit a home rule request to extend the Mount Pleasant Hotel Motel occupancy tax via Senate Bill S5191 and Assembly Bill A6220. I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. The county approved.
The state legislature allowed us to have a hotel motel tax. That's,
Right.
I think, had significant
The county
revenues.
did it at the same time.
Right, other municipalities did it too. Yep.
We have to renew it every couple of years. So that's what this home rule request is, to extend it.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization for a spring high school internship in the building department. Hold on. With the fan. Let's see. This is a Westlake High School student. High school senior Chloe Perez. This spring in the building department senior internship program is designed to immerse a student in real work environment typically found in a professional in line with future college studies. Chloe Perez will experience plan review work that is completed by a municipal organization. This department has participated in this program in the past, and the department has benefited from the work of these interns. This internship typically commences in the first week of May with the requirement of completing up to 30 hours of experience per week. It is the building inspector's recommendation that the town board approve the permission of Chloe Perez to complete an internship in the town's building department.
Move for approval?
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization is requested to dispose of an old HP LaserJet M806 from the receiver of taxes office. The equipment is no longer working and can no longer be repaired.
Motion for approval, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see. Authorization to approve a license agreement with the County of Westchester for the commuter parking lot through December 31st, 2025. This is the Broadway lot. The state, we've been paying the state rent on this property for probably 50 years. I've been working since 2017 to try to get this property transferred to the town. This is the first step in getting it transferred, so we no longer have to pay rent for that property, and we will take full ownership. We've been maintaining it, cleaning it for many, many years, and I felt it was improper that we were paying the state for the use of this property. So this resolution 20825 will approve a license agreement with the County of Westchester parking lot through December 31st, 25.
So moved.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, which is part of this, is authorization to approve the transfer of property, the commuter parking lot, from the County of Westchester to the Town of Mount Pleasant for $0, and granting easement to the County of Westchester for a sewer line that passes through the parking lot.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, the receiver of taxes report. Okay, we'll have the interest rate on that.
No.
Okay. Next item is business from the floor. Anyone wish to speak on any topic related to the town is welcome to do so at this time.
Hello, me again. I apologize, I tried to keep my comments earlier in regard to how that law affected this property, but now I'd just like to kind of discuss the overall issue. One of the selling points of the master plan, and I was here for a number of those meetings because they did directly impact me. One of the selling points was that what you guys wrote in your FAQs was that the hamlets defined are only the commercial core areas of Valhalla, Hawthorne, and Thornwood, and do not include the surrounding residential neighborhoods. If you look at the map, this is very clearly, and even just drive up the road, both North Kensico and take Cedar Street Extension and then up the backside of Cleveland, this is very clearly a residential district. The only point that this property at 75 North Kensico Avenue is contiguous with the Hamlet District is at the dead end of Cleveland Street, which has been blocked off for decades to vehicular traffic. And I'd like to clarify, I did not say that you cannot walk that way. I said you cannot drive that way. There is no access to this parcel without driving through a residential zone. You also stated at that time that this would not increase the density except in the small area surrounding the Hawthorne train station. This is clearly a major increase in density if we're going to discuss adding 30, 32, 34 units.
You say that you were involved in the master plan?
I said I attended the meetings. I was here. I was here at a number of the meetings. I believe I asked a couple questions. I can't remember if it was myself or my husband. But this was one of the questions was, can you guys encroach into the residential neighborhood? And the answer was consistently no. I have it here. Let's see, we already discussed that 61 and 65 North Kensico, which are contiguous with this property, are not multifamily homes. They are single-family only. All right, and I think my last question is, there are a couple different tracks that a Hamlet-zoned property can go through for development. There's the no-review track, the expedited review track, and the full review track. Which track would this specific property go through? Because that's the crux of the rezoning, is that if it goes by a particular track, it needs significantly less oversight and does not require a public hearing. And that's the reason that I am personally opposed to rezoning it as this. If it was rezoned as a different type of parcel, then it would have to go through the Zoning Board of Appeals, which would require a lot more public input. As of now, if I'm reading, unless this was inaccurate 3 years ago, the only track that actually requires a public hearing is the full review track. Would this property fall under the full review track?
We'll have to answer your question tomorrow.
Okay. So just to be clear, under the expedited review track, a public hearing is not required.
I know the sentence.
No, I'd like to say it for the record.
Sure.
Okay? So I think that that's a big deal, because if we keep hearing from the town board that we can go to the planning board, we can go to the planning board, we can go to the planning board, but then this property is in compliance with everything for the Hamlet zone, then it may actually meet the requirements for an expedited review track, which does not require a public hearing. And we can't guarantee that one would be held and that our opinions would be heard. And that, to me, is where the transparency is lacking. That, to me, would be an absolute slap in the face to the constituents who feel that we are essentially being ignored right now. And I appreciate you hearing us out, but I will tell you, I feel that the fact that at the last meeting there were, I want to say, over 25 of us here who expressed opposition, and there were 0 people who spoke in favor of this project. And you're telling me that that wouldn't sway anybody on the town board. I as elected officials, I have concerns about that. There was no one in favor of it, multiple people opposed, and that wouldn't change anything in your thought process. That's worrisome to me. I am extremely disappointed. I am...
We got that point. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would really like an answer as to whether or not this is subject to a public hearing or not.
It's going to be subject to a public hearing, but I'll look at the tracks and we'll respond to you tomorrow.
Okay,
And who
thank you.
makes the decision? I forget if it was the planning board. I think it's the planning board.
Let me just answer, because the reason I made that comment earlier, that, to Mr. Russell, that I don't know if it would be beneficial, because we had a public hearing, and for me personally, I don't think it sets a good precedent either, that if the board makes a decision, and then weeks later, more people come out of the woodwork and start questioning it, how many times can we say, all right, let's go back to that meeting, let's go back to that meeting? And I understand it's a big deal, and I know that this is different than a lot of the votes but we vote on things every 2 weeks. And for me, I don't see the value in reopening when a decision had been made. There were people here, it was publicized, yes, there was no sign, there was no mailing. That, I think we're improving going forward, but to look back and say, let's second guess what we questioned, like, yeah, we've heard the input from the community. That's what I meant when I made that comment.
It actually wasn't you I was referring to. It was said by a couple different members that regardless
That's okay.
of...
No, but I said it too.
You did. But regardless, a couple people said it. And my kind of thing is that if we recognize that an error was made, that so many people weren't aware, that's a little different than saying, like, everybody knew and no one chose to come.
Right. Well, I don't see it myself personally as an error. I think it was just that we're making an improvement to do something better the next time. So we didn't do anything wrong. We just maybe didn't do everything that we could have.
But that's my point, is that I think if you knew that, I would like to hope that you would have said, like, hey, the neighbors haven't said anything about this. Do they even know? You guys should put signs up. I would like to think that, because that would be looking out for your constituents. is that if you guys knew that these talks have been going on for a year and not one neighbor had anything to say about it, that's,
All the time.
for,
We've made
how many times have you guys,
workshops like
how many
this,
times have
like
you guys
once a
built,
year?
and how many times have you guys built an apartment building of 34 units in a single-family district?
We've had several developments come in front of us. I mean, Toll Brothers, we didn't get a lot of people either. And I'm not just referring to building. There's other topics. Budget, nobody's ever here for budget.
$60 million budget, nobody comes.
I vote in favor of it every time. Every time. That's why I'm not here. I support you guys for that.
Thank
You know, and that's the thing. But that's kind of my point is I feel like if the fact that no one had anything to say in the year prior tells me that no one knew. And that to me is a common sense thing. We had the option to require signage. For whatever reason, we didn't do it, whether it was an oversight or an intentional decision, I have no idea. But either way, let's correct it. That's all I'm asking.
We have to make, sometimes we have to make tough decisions. The Amazon project on 9A. What do you do with that property? There was multiple proposals for that property. 500 homes, multiple story buildings, shopping center. We hash it out. What do we do? What's the best option? There was a warehouse next door. We decided this warehouse would be helpful.
And I think that's actually one of my other frustrations is that I keep hearing these things about this property that are just really not accurate. That there are multifamily homes next door. That's not true.
There are.
There are not. They are not next door.
I know, well, right there in the air.
They're three houses. They're at least 3 houses down, and those ones are already within the pre-existing Hamlet district. And that was one of the
3
things.
houses down is not nearby.
I mean, I wouldn't count it when you get into like a tree-lined street and there's only 2 buildings that are within that district. No, I wouldn't. Like, where do you draw the line?
All right,
The lines were
that
made.
was my opinion, okay?
Yeah, the
I
lines
know
were
the area
drawn.
very well.
The lines were drawn 3 years ago, and now they're being changed. And that was promised in this little FAQ here that wouldn't happen.
We had a problem with a property line in Valhalla, another area in town, residential area, that was improperly drawn, and it affected people's property. We had to go back, the surveyor had to redo it and correct the line. Didn't hurt anybody, it helped people, because somebody made an error in the back, so we had to correct that. Anybody else wish?
Just, again, you brought up 9A. And then what do you do with why didn't you make it a single-family home in that area? I mean, it's just,
One single-family home,
exactly.
12 acres?
Well, this is less than 1 acre, and we're gonna make
Who
it 30
would
feet.
build?
Nobody, that's the
12
point of, it's the opposite of this.
Well, we have to think about these things. We don't, just,
So
maybe
yes,
it'll work, maybe it won't.
You guys do have to make tough decisions, and a
Yeah.
lot of the time, the reason you're elected is the same reason we elect presidents and Congress, is for them to do the job. Most of the times, someone's getting paid to do this job that they want to do, right? You want to do this job for the town, and we appreciate that. And yeah, we can't come to everything, nor is everything really going to affect us. And if my taxes are going to go up, regardless of what you guys try to do with the budget.
Yep.
Just part of the problem, part of the process. But this project is in a residential area, and and it was brought up again, the cul-de-sac that has all those homes, those are single-family homes, regardless of whatever you want to, if you don't like how many are there, they're single-family homes. Yeah, they're on top of each other. I personally wouldn't want to live there, even though there's some people that do. That's just my choice. But it's designed where it's not this apartment building in a single-family residential area. I mean, you know, you keep just nodding your head and you understand that what we're
What would you like me
saying.
to do? I'm trying to answer your question. I've listened to you. I don't know what more you want, okay? I talked about that residential development on Lakeside, that I would have approved that, okay? Because I didn't think that was good for the area. It's there, not by me. So if I thought that this was a horrible decision to put residential on that piece of property, I wouldn't have done it.
Right, but this property, which has a lot less land, is gonna have,
We're talking about this piece. I
Yeah.
just said that if I thought it was a horrible idea, I never would have approved it, okay? We've been talking about this property for about a year and a half. So it wasn't like, let's just approve it.
I get that.
I don't know if you do.
I do understand the process of getting the land changed and, you know, it's not an overnight thing. Nothing in government is overnight. So, that being said, you do see that there is a little bit more opinions about this now, that it's being already changed and known versus before where there weren't a lot of people that knew about it.
And again-
And that's the truth.
And again, it hasn't changed my thinking on the use of that property.
Okay, well.
Jim Russell. I would think that from the moment Mr. Amakuchi walked in the door of your work session and presented this and put the picture on your desk, you would have had some trepidations instead of embracing it. You would have said to yourself, what are the people in this neighborhood going to think about this? I think that's a factor, perhaps, that there was some delay in the public awareness of this. It should be obvious.
Were you at the work session when it was presented?
No, I was
Did you hear
not.
the questions that the town board posed about that project?
Pardon me?
Did you hear the questions that the town board posed to that developer about that project?
I would like to get the minutes for that meeting. I'm going to
I
request
just
them.
asked you a question. Did
Did
you
I-
hear any comments from the town board that we gave to that developer regarding that development?
Now, How would
You
I
weren't
get, how would
there.
I get them?
You weren't there.
No.
Don't make it look like we just randomly approved this project.
But that was received favorably from the reports that I saw in the Examiner. Those reports, I think you were quoted,
I may have been
Mrs.
quoted, but you
Mrs.
can't
Zano.
believe everything you read in the paper. And that
Okay.
developer came in front of this town board 3 times in work session. So no, it
Right.
wasn't approved or welcomed with open arms the first time around.
I would thought
I'm
maybe
not
that-
going to debate it with
okay.
you because you
But-
weren't there, and I'm just not going to debate
Okay.
it with you.
Well, maybe it would be good, like other towns do, to put out an agenda of what might be on the
We
schedule.
have an
for-
agenda for the town board.
Yes.
The
so-
agenda is not official until the town board reviews it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an official document. Once the town board approves it, then it becomes public and it's advertised.
Well, it would be helpful to have that information to see if there's something of this nature that's coming up.
So
To
you
know
would
some-
want our agenda before we approve it.
So it'll be a tentative agenda. It's always tentative until the day of the
If you
meeting.
come to the work session,
Mm-hmm.
you could hear whatever we're discussing.
Right. It would be good, in fact.
And you can record it
in
like
fact,
you usually do.
there are other towns that actually have it live, virtually, so people at home can see what's going on. Just a suggestion. I think that would be very helpful to do that.
Yeah, we'll spend a few more $1,000.
Well, I mean-
taxpayer dollars.
We'll take your
Start-
suggestion
We'll
into
start
account.
with please, the minutes, because, you know, I did
You
speak with
recorded, so
the
what do you need?
Committee for Open Government, and work sessions are not excluded as far as minutes are concerned, and if they could be posted on the website,
Well,
I,
so Emily would know that.
There's no voting there, so there's no minutes,
right.
right?
We're in
not
litigation with
required.
Mr. Russell on FOIL. Let's not debate him today in public.
Right.
He sued us, as you know, under FOIL, and now we're in the Court of Appeals on another matter that's been going on for years, so
Plus the
hopefully the Court of
$10
Appeals will
And
make
why-
the
why
final
you-
decision on whether Mr. Russell's
I don't
right.
know why you would spend so much money on something like that, but
Because you sued
as
us.
far as,
Because 99% of the people that you want their email addresses for said they didn't want you to have. That's why.
that's quite debatable as far as your documentation.
99% of the people, you asked for everyone's email address so
I
you
don't
can
think we should
give
be
you
discussing
your
this case
opinion.
in this venue.
And they said, no, Mr. Russell, town board, don't give Mr. Russell my personal email address so he doesn't email me every day.
A lot of people are
That's
very
what
happy.
99% of the people
Now,
said.
a lot of people have told me that they're very happy to hear my reports about what's going on, so they can come
Mr.
come
Russell,
here
do you have
right to
anything
the
else?
last meeting. Oh, yes, I
Anything
do,
else
I
to
certainly
talk
do.
about?
As far as this notion that Mr. Chaffazada brought up, that the planning board can do anything with this. Mr. David Smith, the planner, for the developer, stood here after he mentioned this could be a 4-story building, and said that this project was totally compliant. He worked with Patrick Cleary, the planner. The planner is the consultant to the planning board. How likely is it that the planning board is going to take something that they worked in collaboration with the planner and that they reviewed and find something that they're going to...
I don't know how the
listen,
planning board is going to rule.
Right. But it's very unlikely. And to say that we should just put off any discussion of what might happen with happening in an apartment building, just have it rezoned and then wait till the planning board gets it, that's a bit disingenuous.
Is there any other topic you like?
Well, I want to get that across, that, you know, that's why it's important. It's important for
28
that to
seconds.
stop. And the last part is, I was reading in the new Examiner a story about your opinions about development, and you said that you'd like to see more transit-oriented development.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, I have to. Are you in favor of?
You want to expand.
I read the article. I paid $9
Let the people
to read it.
and let them make a decision. Don't tell people what you got out of it.
Okay. Then I'll ask you.
Because I know how you slant things.
Do you have any additional plans for transit-oriented development in the town of Mount
We
Pleasant?
don't build.
Such-
It's up to the developer to build. Town of Mount Pleasant does not build buildings. If a developer comes in and says, we're interested in transit-oriented development, we will hear him. I know you don't want anybody moving in town. You made that very clear.
You should put words. Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
I know, I've read you, you,
Okay.
Can we take a 2-minute recess?
sure. Well, if nobody else is going to speak, you're welcome to get up there.
I just don't want to interrupt anything else.
Try not to go too long if you can. If you can get it wrapped up, I appreciate it.
But I
We're ready
want
for
you to
bed.
call me for time.
How much real say, because that lady was asking, does the planning board really have? Once we have this resolved the way they want it, then they have a lot of freedom of how they can do it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the planning board will do their site plan approval. It has to go through.
Let's talk like English and not like site plan, like
Yeah.
in reality,
In terms of density, parking,
yeah.
those are all the things that they look at.
And they have a lot of freedom. with what-
The board or the developer?
The buildings, with this being rezoned to the allowance of what the zone will give versus the current zone, or if, I'm assuming there's other types of zones that this could.
Well, yeah, the rezoning opens, like you mentioned, or someone's mentioned it, reopens that door, or it opens that door for a project.
This size.
Yeah.
Why would we allow that? Does that really make sense that in a residential area, you're gonna allow the possibility of 34 lots? Well, you're on the board, talk to your fellow board members, because that doesn't make sense. Regardless of what, it just doesn't. Unless
unless you're getting a kickback or something, which you're
Lower
looking
the hair.
Too cold?
Why else would they allow this little carve out to look like that?
Okay.
Thoughts?
None.
Yeah.
Thanks, Becca.
They're on.
There, it's fine.
Want me to get your Parker?
I'll bring my winter coat next week.
A little chilly.
Because the vents are right
It's
over
so
us.
chilly.
Anyone else like to, business on the floor?
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
just want to make sure everybody's done with their conversation on the previous topic.
There you go.
I have a very short thing here. This is really meant for the board here. Since it's public, I just want to declare that a lot of work has been done by the traffic people before. Remember last time that I came up here? These 20-mile-per-hour signs really indicate considerable effort to signalize the traffic patterns that should be going on here, and it's all well done.
I'm sorry, just for the people at home, can you just tell us what area and street
Sure.
you're referring to here?
Yes. The area
Thank you.
that I'm talking about here pertains to coming from Columbus, going on to Nannyhagen, and going back to Nannyhagen, going down the hill toward Columbus. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
In previous discussion, a few years ago, we were able to, the town successfully put up a mile per hour reader that indicates the speed of vehicles coming down this dangerous curve, and what happens after they've come down this dangerous curve. They end up where I bring out my school bus at Swanson onto Nannyhagen, going toward Columbus. So
That's Virginia Lane across the street?
Virginia Lane is in here, yes, correct.
Across the street there.
And then we have Rock Haven as well, so there's, everybody dreams up of having a traffic light system there, but that's kind of expensive. We don't want to just jump into.
You can't do that
expensive
because
solutions.
there's no line of sight coming up Nannyhagen.
And
so
the
you
number
can't
of
put it-
warnings that you have to have, the number of blinking lights. And I just want to say that this town has made a lot of work in terms of analyzing the traffic situation from a point of view of multiple different options that were done by the traffic analysis people. And anybody who's wanting to talk to that, I think you'll have to coordinate with Mr. Carl to go to the history of that, because there's been a lot of work. The reason I'm here today is that I still have the problem of trying to see if somebody's going to hit me coming down that hill. As you can see, it's very difficult.
That's coming down Swanson.
No,
that's
I'm not
the corner.
Swanson.
The
I'm
house-
Swanson.
the house with
But
the
this is looking
swing set.
up toward, from the higher side of Nannyhagen,
Right.
coming down through that curve where there's the mile per hour indicator. But people ignore that quite often, even though it's blinking red numbers, that they're exceeding the speed limit that's, declared, obviously. And also, your speed warning indicators, you have speed warning signs in yellow that say that people should be going 20 because of the curvature issue, the blind spots. You got driveways that people need to be able to kind of like come out of their own driveway, and it's very difficult for people to come out of those driveways, when people are going faster than the speed that you've indicated on those signs. And that's going both ways. There's a sign as soon as you get off Columbus and go in Nannyhagen, there's a 20-mile-per-hour yellow sign, and also from the West Lake side, coming down on Manny-Hagan, you have a 20-mile-per-hour warning, because there's a lot of blind entries that people need, people to follow those warnings. Obviously, I'm here because people are not following those warnings. They're coming quickly. What happens is I see this, and then all of a sudden I see that. This is a case of a red car, coming down the hill. Okay, and one moment I can't see anything, and then boom, next moment a high-speed car is going down Manny-Hagan. My request here this evening is to maybe have another study just to consider speed cameras to catch people not following the recommendations that you guys have posted. And that maybe some cameras have to, 2 cameras specifically covering from where the speed indicator is showing the speed that people are coming down the hill. But as soon as they zip around that speed indicator, it would be good to get a camera to take pictures of the speed that they start accelerating as soon as they get past that indicator. You understand what I'm saying? Because then in 2 seconds, they're going to be on top of my bus. You understand what I'm saying? The other camera, if it could be facing, again, in the same direction, but emphasis would be on people coming off Columbus and then accelerating because
Up Manny-Hagan?
up Manny-Hagan, because the change in speed, they should not change speed at all, because you have that red, that yellow 20-mile marker there saying, 20 miles per hour, not 50 here. But they come around, people coming out of Rockhaven, which they don't have a chance. But
That's tough one.
the next person dealing with that is myself with my school bus, with kids coming out of Swanson onto Manny-Hagan. And that's why I'm requesting consideration for those 2 cameras facing.
I'll talk to traffic and safety. I'll talk to the town engineer and see what kind of solutions they come up with.
Thank you, sir.
David Smith is a traffic
He's done good work
specialist.
for you, so
Yeah.
appreciate that, sir.
All right?
I appreciate it too.
Thanks.
I make that ride every day myself. I live up at the top, and it's a tough turn.
It is a tough turn.
Yeah.
So you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I think, and what happened is with the speed indicator, we've been able to get the speed down for, quite a few months.
Yeah.
And it was a successful action that you guys took for me. But I've noticed also the speed indicator on Columbus going the other way. People, I'll be going like 28, 29 miles per hour, and I have seen that thing flash 45. People passing me on the right side, which they shouldn't be passing me on the right side anyway. You understand? Because I'm on the left, because I need to turn left shortly.
Do you drive for Royal Coach?
But I'm not representing or coach yet. I'm just-
No, I understand. I just wasn't sure. School bus.
Yes, sir. And,
I'll definitely, I'll speak to them this week.
thank you.
Hopefully we come up with some safe solutions.
Yeah, I just don't want to have a problem.
No, none of us do.
So, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you.
consideration.
Thanks, sir.
Take care.
Thanks for the photos too.
Okay.
Thank you.
And,
No, it's great.
you have my photos, right? Or do you
Yeah.
want?
Yeah, you gave me.
So, any further contact with me, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? Okay. Move on to council reports. Councilman Saliano.
Oh, yeah, town clerk.
I'm sorry. I skipped over that one. Sorry, Emily.
That's okay. Short report. Town clerk's report, town board meeting, April 22nd, 2025. Public hearing to consider a local law amending town code section 218-109, dealing with the town zoning code amendment procedure and notices required thereunder. And received and filed one planning board resolution for Blythedale Children's Hospital, notice of intent to serve as seeker lead agency. And that's it.
Thank you. Glad we didn't miss that. Councilman Saliano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My report is the controller's memo. The following claims were submitted for town board approval from the supervisor's office. Card member services, $90. Receiver of taxes, Hudson Printing and Graphics, $2,050.33. From the town clerk, General Code LLC, $1,578. From the category of attorney, $43,402.18. From Central Data Processing, Tyler Technologies, $9,274.10. From the category of public safety, $320. This is for Paul J. Oliva, our chief. This was training. Parks, Gary Mosca and Sons, $1,500. From the category of adult programs, Gregory D. Sablon Jr., $1,960. From youth programs, we have several companies, totals $18,393.23. From Youth Day Camps, Central Stage Broadway Sales LLC, $2,230. From Highway Machinery, we have Corsi Tires and some other tire buys incorporated, $3,330.81. From Capital Building Improvement, AquaWorks, $499,367.50. Highway General Capital Project, Peter J. Landing Incorporated. This was for streetscape, $480,871. A lot of these funds are either bonded or we got a grant. From Capital Old Farm Hill Water, AquaWorks, Charles A. Magnanaro, $38,764. From the category Kensico Capital Projects, Granger Incorporated, Home Depot Credit Services, $2,062.25. From Mount Pleasant Consolidated Sewer District, Global Systems Integrators Incorporated. Same category, Thales Industries Incorporated, Tyrus Incorporated, $5,631. From the category of Joint Water District Fund, D&E Business Forums, Global Systems, Thale Industries, and Tyrus, $5,762.67. Mechanical Water District Number 1, Global Systems Integrators Incorporated, $395. And Kensico Water, Global Systems Integrators Incorporated, PVS Mini Bulk Incorporated, $5,211.01. From the category Gifts and Donations, Youth, Michael A. Martin, DBA Military Tribute Banner, $2,263. The grand total is $1,124,425.39. I move for approval of the controller's memo, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The second item is from Noreen McGinty. She's our controller. It's authorization for budget amendment for interfund transfers. Authorization to amend the budget or create any transfers between funds per recommendation of PKF O'Connor Davies LLP for 2024 fiscal year audit. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We have one more item. The last item is supervisor's authorization for final lump sum payout for a police department employee. Authorization to provide final sum payout for police employee Sean Ford, who just retired. We wish him well. He did a fantastic job. Great guy, and the total sum with vacation leave, overtime, police holiday pay is $59,814.71. I move for approval.
Motion by Tom,
Second?
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I thank you. Have a very good evening. Thank you.
Councilwoman Zena.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, fellow board members, residents at home. I have one item from our Parks and Recreation Department, purchase order 70-25-40. The vendor is Edcorn Farms and Country Store. This is for a 10 by 12 mini barn storage shed, which will be delivered to the town pool complex. Total cost is $4,225. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Saraceno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, town residents. My first item is Resolution 206-25. This is authorization to deposit a bond for a curb cut, permit 1511. The check covering this bond was forwarded to the Office of the Comptroller for deposit in the escrow account until the work being performed under the bond has been completed and the road restored to the Superintendent of Highway satisfaction. Bond amount is $540. Resident name Daniel Blaze. Address is 254 Myrtle Avenue in Hawthorne. I'll make a motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 207-25, authorization from the Highway Superintendent to appoint Bianca Licciardone to the vacant title of Intermediate Account Clerk in the Highway Department, effective April 23rd, 2025, salary and benefits per the CSEA White Collar Agreement. The Superintendent of Highways is seeking authorization to appoint Bianca Licciardone to the vacant title Intermediate Account Clerk. She has been working alongside the previous clerk for a while now, this year, and she came highly recommended from the Highway Superintendent in addition to passing her civil service exam. With that, I make a motion for approval.
Did very well on that test, too.
Yeah, she did.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations to Bianca, and thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smalley unfortunately is not feeling good. We hope that she gets better soon. She has nothing, she got off easy anyway. Our scheduled meetings, our next work session is Tuesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. Business session Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. There being no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Mark. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.